Hey guys, Sean C. Phillips here with our March 18th DVD update, where I talk about all the DVDs and Blu-rays that I received over the last 2 weeks or so to review and talk about for you guys. Like I always say, guys, if you enjoy these update videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below you guys thought of the titles I reviewed and talked about this update. Any titles coming up that you guys like me to review for future updates, and some of the DVDs and Blu-rays that you guys have picked up recently. Now, the first one I got here from Shout Factory Scream Factory line is the brand new collector's edition of Firestarter, which is a movie based on a Stephen King story. This is one that I had not seen in a really long time. I always loved the original poster of this movie as well. And this is one of those movies too. I think I saw this when I was like really young. I don't know if maybe I saw it on TV or what, but I feel like I think it was because it was about like this kid with these powers. I actually watched this as a little kid, and like a VHS is one I remember. I don't know if I rented it or what. I just always remember this, but I feel like I had not seen this movie in like 15 years or something. It'd been a really, really long time, and they actually made a sequel to this. I think it was Malcolm McDowell. I think that, and it was like 20 years after this movie or something like that. And you don't hear people talk about that sequel much. And I think I might have seen it. I don't remember for certain, but I remember that it existed. But this movie is basically though about these two parents, that are going, Drew Barrymore's character's parents, who went to this kind of facility years ago before she was born, and there was a facility where they kind of did like testing on testing out this weird type of drug. It's one of those kind of people where they go there, places where people are kind of like the guinea pigs of this like trial type drugs and stuff. And of course, these drugs had some really weird side effects, and the father had the side effect of like getting this ability of being able to control people with his mind, where like if he thinks something like put down the gun, put down the gun, put down the gun, like they will put down the gun, like they basically will do exactly what he thinks. And Drew Barrymore's character, when she's born from the parents, because both of them had these tests done to them, she ends up having this crazy ability where if somebody upsets her or makes her angry or does something wrong to her, she ends up having the ability of making like them catch on fire. And there's like these crazy, insane special effects scenes of her like forming fire and like these fireballs and like people getting caught on fire. And the thing too about it is the effects in this I really feel like hold up, because this was done before they were doing everything they would do. Like I think if they did this now. So that's the one thing with digital effects. I feel like fire always really, really looks fake. It's really hard to do fire digitally. And that's why when you see a movie like this, where it was all done practically, it's like amazing how scary the fire can be and how realistic it is, because they were actually doing this. They were actually doing stuff when they were lighting people on fire. It was all kind of like insane, real burn effects and all that kind of stuff, which you don't see as very much at all anymore. Most of this now would be done, if like they remade this now, it would all be like totally digital and just would not have the same vibe at all as this. And I know this movie has got some kind of like mixed opinions on it, but I think it's great, because it's basically though, the father and daughter, Drew Barrymore and her father, because something happens to the mother, they're basically on the run because the government facility finds out about her power and they're trying to find her. And George C. Scott's in the film playing this guy, and he's like relentless on trying to track them down. It's kind of like a movie about them kind of on the run, and there are always people kind of catching up with them and things like that, and then like what ends up happening. But like the effects in this, like I said, are amazing. They really hold up. And like Tangerine Dream, who's like does amazing synth music, and they did music in tons and tons of movies in the 80s. Their music was kind of like the music in Blade Runner, but that was the Vangles, but it's that same type of feel to their music. I love their music, like especially the stuff they did for films, and they actually still do stuff today. You don't hear about them as much, but they still are making music. There's an interview on here too with one of the members of Tangerine Dream talking about the film and even performing one of the songs, the theme to this movie now, as well as a new commentary track on here, a brand new 2K transfer of the film, which looks great. So interviews on here with the director and some of the cast members, but really, really cool movie. Really, really love this one. Would highly recommend you guys check this out if you guys have not seen this movie. Just a really cool movie based on a Stephen King story. The next ones here are from Shout Factory as well, from the Scream Factory line. These are the brand new collector's editions of RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3. These are other ones that I had not watched in a really long time. And what's funny was I don't even know if I had ever seen RoboCop 2 uncut. I think this is one of those ones that I had saw on TV as a kid, and that was it. Like, I don't think I really saw this one too much. What's kind of funny with the RoboCop movies is the RoboCop movie that I saw the most and like grew up on was the third RoboCop film. And I know it's not really an outstanding movie, but like because this is the first RoboCop I saw this movie when it was brand new as a kid when it first came out in like '93. I used to rent it all the time. I had to take the VHS of this. I like this a lot, and it is kind of this was a PG-13 movie, and that was kind of why I saw it. because, you know, I wasn't able to watch a lot of R-rated things back then. So, like, I was able to see this. So this was the first RoboCop I saw. So, like, that was why I always kind of had a soft, you know, I always kind of just liked this film. The second movie, though, is about RoboCop now, and they're trying to, the company is trying to make, like, another type of RoboCop type element. And there's also deals with the whole plot of this really, like, bad type of drug that's kind of taking over the streets of the city. And RoboCop is trying to get to the bottom of who was behind it. This real, like, heinous gang of these people, and they even, like, recruit kids that are selling these drugs, and it's one of those things too where there's all these corrupt cops and you really don't know who you can trust and stuff like that. And these both have brand new 2K transfers of the movie. It has a commentary track on here, you know, with the CGI supervisor, as well as the making of RoboCop 2, a thing on here on the special effects on this one. The third one has a bunch of features, and I was really interested in seeing this one because this, you know, Fred Dekker, you know, who directed, you know, Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps, directed this movie. So this has on here a brand new commentary track with him on here, as well as a making of feature read on this movie, and then some other things on the special effects in this movie. But like I said, I always, like, really liked this movie. Like I said, I know it's not an absolutely perfect movie, but I always kind of thought it was fun, and it deals with, like, the corrupt city kind of trying to take away people's homes because they're trying to rebuild on them. It's all kind of done, like, with an underground society, and RoboCop kind of gets taken in by them, and he's kind of trying to help them. But I always, like I said, thought this was a really fun movie, and it deals with, like, the kid and stuff. This one kid and the friendship with RoboCop. Like I said, it's not an absolutely perfect movie, but I think since I grew up watching this one, I always kind of liked it. And it's a different actor, too. It's not, you know, it's not, you know, Peter Weller playing RoboCop. It's the actor that was from the movie Thinner playing RoboCop. And I don't know, I always loved Thinner as well. And I kind of liked him as RoboCop. But still, these are really cool new releases and really great artwork on these ones. The next one here from Lionsgate's Vestron video line. And this is an amazing release. And I was so glad, too, that they included all the movies in this. It's all 4 of the Wishmaster movies. I do feel like at some point they would make another Wishmaster movie. Because it would kind of be cool to do a new one and then have Andrew Divoff come back. Because he was, like, so cool in the role of the Wishmaster, because he didn't play him in the third and fourth film. Those ones were filmed back to back, but he was in the first 2 films, and these are just really cool movies. This is the Vestron, you know, collection here, and inside of here, no, this is the Wishmaster collection from Vestron Video through Lionsgate. But in here, though, it has, you know, the first 2 movies are on their own disc. So those wondering, you know, so there's the Wishmaster 1, Wishmaster 2, and then 3 and 4 are on the one disc together. And they have a bunch of features on here as well. But if you guys don't know the Wishmaster movies, it's basically, though, about the character of the Djinn. And in recent years, they've done a lot of other movies. Like they did a movie called Djinn and a couple other movies about the Djinn-type character and, like, the legend of it. I feel like this, though, did it the best. I really like the way they did this character, and it's all about, like, a twisted genie giving, you know, genie type character giving these wishes that have, like, heinous results to them. But it's basically, though, about this genie that was years back that gets, like, basically his goal is to give people these wishes, and by the time they have their third wish, he ends up being able to kind of take over the world. But in the beginning of the film, right before he can get his third wish to this kingdom in Egypt, he gets put into this curse, and his soul gets trapped into this crystal kind of amulet jewel thing. In the beginning of the movie, though, and it's in this kind of statue thing, too. Beginning of the movie, Robert Englund's character is getting ready to bring in this statue as for an art exhibit, and the statue falls and kills Ted Raimi's character, and the amulet gets, you know, drops out, and this guy ends up, you know, stealing the amulet from there and selling it at a pawn shop, and then the pawn dealer goes to sell it to this jewel place, and then the woman there who works there starts studying this jewel and ends up unknowingly letting out the Wishmaster, and then, of course, though, the Wishmaster is going around the streets and then, like, giving people wishes, and it's like these heinous wishes, and if you make a wish, he's like, oh, I'll do this, but you have to give me your soul. And there's all these people who have cameos in this movie too, like Reggie Bannister's in this movie playing the guy who works at the drugstore, and all these different people. the homeless guy character is, from tons of movies like Back to the Future and stuff, and he has a wish of like getting even with the Reggie Bannister's character because he kicks him out of the store and he dies in front of him. It's like these crazy deaths and stuff, and it's basically though just the Wishmaster going around and trying to become free. And these are just really fun movies. The second one though deals with him in prison, and like I said, it includes part 3 and 4. But feature-wise on here, it has a commentary track with the director on the first movie, an isolated score with audio interviews with the composer, and then as well as the thing on here, number of interviews on here about the features, and a pretty cool feature too, talking to like some of the cameos, like the the horror icons that did cameos in here, like Reggie with no, it didn't have Reggie Bannister, it had Robert Englund, and then it had Ted Raimi, and then one or two other. No, it had Kane Hodder as well, because it was Kane Hodder's first movie where he had a speaking role in it, because he had done like smaller parts in the past and a lot of stunt work, but this is one of his first movies where he actually had lines and a big role like this. But a really, really cool release. They also have the commentary track on part 2, commentary track on part 3, as well as a vintage featurette, and then commentaries on part 4 as well. But a really cool set. If you guys are a fan of these movies, definitely recommend this one. I can't wait to hear too what are going to be some of the other upcoming, Vestron video lines. I don't think they've announced any more yet, so I really hope they keep on putting these out, because I really, really love the stuff they're releasing. The next one here from Lionsgate as well. This is a pretty cool series. This is the first season of Wolf Creek. The Wolf Creek films, they actually made a series of this, for in Australia, and it's just came out to the U.S. now. This is basically, though, it's kind of, I guess it runs parallel to I think it's around right after the second movie, you would say. It's basically, though, about, the character of, John Jarrett's character, who basically was going around and killing like tourists and hitchhikers and stuff, and just basically anyone he didn't like. He plays this great over-the-top kind of Crocodile Dundee type, over-the-top Australian, stereotypical kind of like crazy character, and he basically just kills these tourists and everything. In the beginning of the movie, though, Lucy Fry's character is an American tourist who's come to Australia with her parents, and they're kind of going around there. She's had some drug problems in the past, and she's kind of going there to kind of get away and hopefully kind of get herself back together. And of course, though, the Wolf Creek, the bad guy, ends up stumbling upon their campsite where they're out there camping, and of course he ends up killing her whole family. And like I said, this is a series, so I think it was like it was 6 episodes. I think it was like it's basically though it plays like a full movie. Basically, it plays like a 4.5 hour long movie. But it's basically though he ends up killing her entire family, and she ends up thinking that he kills her. Of course, she doesn't die, and it's her surviving and ending up in the hospital, and then telling what had happened. And of course, the police go back to where the campsite is. They can't find anybody. They can't find any of the bodies because his character always cleans everything up, so no one knows where anybody is. And she doesn't like the idea that nothing can be found, and they're basically going to send her back to America, and they're going like, we're going to figure this out, we'll solve this, we'll find this guy. She doesn't accept that, and she makes it her mission to basically defy what the police are saying and stay in Australia and try and find him. So it's kind of her journey of trying to figure out where he is and using the bits and pieces that she knows about his truck and what he looks like, and kind of cases in the past that she's found out about missing people, to try and track him down and find him. I actually was really, really liking this, and I watched through the whole thing of this show, and I'm interested in seeing if they're going to continue this series or not. The director, too, just did that movie, The Belko Experiment. I think that's what it was called. I just saw that tonight. Loved that movie. That was a really cool... I really like the director's movies. He did this. The Darkness wasn't outstanding, but it was still pretty cool, though. But this one, though, like you said, if you're a fan of the Wolf Creek series, the Wolf Creek films, definitely check this out. It's got the same vibe to this, but the thing that's different, though, is it really focuses a lot on the aspect of her and revenge, and a lot more character development, too, and a lot more, drama and things like that, as opposed to the Wolf Creek movies, which were kind of done kind of comedic and silly more. This one takes it a little bit more serious. The next one here from Lionsgate as well is the 4K edition of the film starring Mark Wahlberg, and a lot of people in this one in this movie as well as Kevin Bacon's in this movie, John Goodman, J.K. Simmons, so great cast in this movie. This is basically the true story of the Boston bombing marathon and about what had happened. And it basically focuses on the two brothers that were, put out these, the bombs and the terrible things that they did, and it kind of follows the whole events, in great detail about what had happened. And the director did, I can't remember the other movie that he just recently directed. The other one about the oil tank explosion, but he also did Lone Survivor. But he's always really, great with the details of really trying to get everything, the facts as much as he can, and really showing exactly what had happened and not leaving out aspects of things. And he really did try and put as much stuff as he could in this movie. And it's basically, though, about what had happened, about these brothers, and about the explosion, and Mark Wahlberg's character is trying to figure out, when they find out that this was what had happened, trying to track down these guys, and it deals with the whole thing about the FBI and all the stuff they were going through about putting up their images and if they should post them, and if they do post their images of them, then will they know that they're looking for them and know that they have a chance to get away. And it deals with the whole thing and about the things that those brothers are doing behind the scenes and how they're trying to get away. And it also deals with a lot of stuff too about when a thing like this happens, about how they go in and get everyone's cell phones to try and look at the videos and try and see what they filmed, to try and see if they can figure out who the people were. Like I said, it really gets into these details of things that I didn't know a whole lot about at all that go on. It has on here, though, Boston Strong, thing about the true stories on here, a featurette about researching the day, the real life Patriots, the local heroes stories on here, and then actors meet the real life counterparts that they were playing. And like I said, this is also the 4K edition of this movie, and has the Blu-ray and the digital HD one as well, but looks great on 4K. Like I always say too, with 4K, the big thing is the HDR, the high dynamic range, and and that basically is talking about the the contrast ratio and the dark levels and things like that. And it's just a really, really well filmed movie. Looks great, exceptionally well acted. It's a very sad story and a sad thing that's going on, but the director did I think, is it Peter Weir, I believe? I always mess up his name. Peter Berg. But he always does, like I said, a really good job on the details of things like this. I think my favorite movie that he did was Lone Survivor, though. That was a really good movie. That had, I think that was Mark Wahlberg as well. I hadn't seen that one in a long time, though, since it first came out. The next one here from Warner Brothers is the movie Collateral Beauty. This is another one that has a really good cast. It has Will Smith, Edward Norton, Keira Knightley, Michael Pena, Naomi Harris. So a lot of different people are in this movie. This is actually another one that I think the trailer to the movie kind of gave it a certain type of vibe to this movie, and it wasn't exactly how it was. And I think it was way more of an intricate story to the whole thing. And it's definitely one of those movies too that was really making you think. You're about certain things about this movie, especially after it was over, you were like, wait a minute, was it this? It's one of those real thinking movies. It's not one of those movies where after you're done with it, you're like, oh yeah, it's one of those movies where after you watch it, you start thinking about it a lot. And I kind of like those kind of movies where you kind of leaves you thinking about what did you just see and what was going on here. But it's basically about Will Smith's character who works at this this high, this office building, and he's basically, something as terrible has happened to his daughter, and he, was somebody who was kind of, everybody really liked him, and he's really positive, and because of what had happened, he's now really, really depressed. He won't talk to anybody. He comes in the office, but he kind of just messes around with these domino things that he knocks over, and he's just really reserved and not talking to anybody, and he's the head of this company, and the other people that work with him kind of are thinking, are we going to have to sell this company? What are we going to do? How are we going to get things figured out? Because things are starting to the business is starting to go down, because we can't really get him to sign off on any of these papers he needs to sign, and because of how depressed he is and how bad off things are going, and he lives in a house, he doesn't have anything in it. It's just it's a very sad film, and sad of the way Will Smith's character is. But the people that work with him kind of come up with this idea of this is not ruining anything, about getting these actors and kind of having them pursue emotions like love, death, and because he sees that Will Smith's character writes these letters to them, because he that's the only way he kind of communicates, is he sends these letters to death and love about how upset he is about what had happened and how he feels like he's never gonna be happy again. So he basically, these people that work with him basically hire them in thinking that they can kind of film him and then prove that he's not, together. And that's kind of what it is. You know what I mean? That's essentially what the movie was. But it has so much more to it Has on here though too a featurette on this movie, discovering Collateral Beauty, during the cast and crew as they reveal how they were inspired to look at their own lives in a new light. Like I said, this is one of those movies that really does make you look at your life and look at the way things are and everything. It really, I really did like aspects of the movie quite a bit, but it is like a very, very sad movie, and it has in here too a digital copy though, for those wondering. The next one here from Paramount. And this movie kind of went under the radar a little bit, and especially since it's a Martin Scorsese film. This is a movie, too, that he had been trying to make. I was reading somewhere for like 19, 20 years, and it kind of went through a lot of different casts and over the years, that other people that they thought were going to play the roles throughout the time, that kind of changed and everything. And it's Martin Scorsese's film, and it's actually the first movie, too, I read that he actually wrote, or, wrote the screenplay. He worked with someone else as well, but it's the first movie that he actually, I believe, wrote since Casino, I read somewhere as well. This is the movie called Silence, which stars Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson. And this is set during an interesting time, too. It's set like in 1600s, which they don't make a lot of movies set in those time frames. It's usually like the 18-somethings, if they're going to take a movie like a period piece type film. And this is all set in Japan during the time when Christianity is like totally illegal, and if you practice it, they will basically torture you, and they're doing these terrible torturing where they put like this hot spring water and they dump it on the people. And what ends up happening though is Liam Neeson is this priest who kind of goes there to try and like preach, Christianity and talk to people about that there, and he ends up basically going missing. And Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver's character end up getting this letter and hearing that like years back he was taken captive, and he was basically the person who trained them and taught them everything they know and everything. And they kind of find out about that this has happened to him years before, so they end up wanting to go to Japan and try and find him because he was their mentor. So the movie's basically about their kind of journey to try and find him, and kind of all the ways they have to go through to try and get there, and all the kind of problems, and it's like, and it deals with like some really dark stuff going on. So there's all kind of torture and really sad stuff going on. And the movie too doesn't really have much music or anything. It's a lot of like just like real natural sounds and stuff that are going on. It's amazingly filmed and everything. It is a very, very long movie, though. It is like, I think it's like 160 minutes, so it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. But, if you guys, it's definitely, too, a much more different Martin Scorsese movie, because I feel like in the recent years, it's a lot, he does a lot more, like, crime-type films, and that's, like, kind of what he's known for, I would say, is, like, my favorite movie of his is Taxi Driver. But I think, like, a lot of crime, mafia-type films and things like that, this is definitely a different type of film. I know the one movie that he really wants to make, too, is that H.H. Holmes movie about that serial killer, which I would love to see that movie. But this is just a really, really well-acted film, well-filmed, amazing cinematography in this one. It has on here, though, Martin Scorsese's journey, like a featurette on the making of this movie. This has the Blu-ray and the digital copy. The next one here from the Criterion Collection. This is like one of the few John Waters films released on Blu-ray. I think it's only the ones that have been released so far are Hairspray and Crybaby. I'm really hoping that Criterion gets more John Waters movies, because I would love if they did like Criterion releases of like Polyester, and Polyester is my all-time favorite John Waters movie, and like maybe like Pecker. And the thing about John Waters movies is I always really loved them because I grew up and was born in Baltimore and lived there many, many years. So like till I was like 25 or something like that. So like I like always know Baltimore. I like something like a movie like Serial Mom, like the high school in that movie. I went to that high school, so I know all these areas. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's this area, that's Lutherville, that's this area. So it's like, to me, it's kind of cool because I know all these spots. So, and then especially watching older John Waters movies, it's kind of cool to see what it looked like in the 70s and stuff. But this is John Waters' film Multiple Maniacs, and this is like one of his really early movies, which was almost more of when he was like more homemade type films before. This is before Pink Flamingos. So this was very, very early John Waters. But the thing that I like about John Waters movies, though, is like they always have the same kind of, especially the early ones, the same type of delivery. Like the line delivery and the way they're written. And there's like these amazing, ridiculous lines, like the one woman talking to this guy going like, I want to do acts with you. Mr. I can't remember what his name was, but he's like, Mr. something. I want to get to your house and I want to do acts with you. And I don't know, it's just like amazing because they're talking about sex acts and stuff. It's just so ridiculous, some of the lines and stuff. And Divine, this early Divine. Divine was amazing. But this is basically, though, about this traveling kind of almost carnival group where they have like a perverse show that they put on in the middle of like the woods in certain areas, where they have rich people come in there and then they end up robbing them at gunpoint and stealing their jewelry and stuff. And it's but it's basically, like I said, them robbing them and stealing their jewelry and stuff. And it's just basically Divine as like the heads up this show, and it's got like, they say like perverts and deviates and mental patients and all that, and people come in there to watch them. And then it deals with Divine too, like kind of going around and like getting worse and worse with what she wants to do, and she doesn't even want to put on these shows anymore. She just kind of wants to rob people and steal their money, and that's basically what it is, just going around stealing money. And there's also these crazy scenes too of Divine's character going to church and then having this whole like this long scene of like religious elements and stuff like that. But it has on here a brand new 4K transfer for this movie, a commentary track with John Waters, new interviews on here with Pat Moran and Ming Stoll. This is like a really, really cool, twisted movie. Like I said, I really hope, you know, this one, like, this sells well for Criterion, and then like they maybe consider doing other John Waters movies, like I said, like Polyester and Pink Flamingos and stuff like that. Because I feel like, you know, like I said, there's not a lot of them that have been released. The next one here from Magnolia, this movie I was actually kind of surprised with. I kind of like this movie called A Kind of Murder. And I was one of those movies too, I was like kind of like glued to this movie, just like what is going to happen here. And it was like, it was kind of going for a De Palma type, Brian De Palma type film, those kind of like mystery type films. This movie, like I said, called A Kind of Murderer, and it stars, you know, Patrick Wilson and Jessica Biel and Haley Bennett. And it's Patrick Wilson is a guy who writes like kind of like these small little books and stuff like that about mysteries and like little crime, kind of like throwaway crime books, and the wife doesn't really respect what he does. These kind of throwaway crime novels about just like murders and stuff, and he kind of collects newspaper articles for inspiration about people who have been killed and stuff, and has like a booklet of them. And there's this one murder that had happened about this man who's works at the bookstore, and his wife who was murdered, and it kind of looks like the guy had done it, but basically there's not enough evidence and stuff. And Patrick Wilson's character kind of becomes obsessed with this whole thing and kind of starts talking to the guy and bothering him and saying, I think you did it, and like he's kind of bothering him. And it deals with the whole plot too of Patrick Wilson and a thing with his wife, played by Jessica Biel, and they don't get along whatsoever, and he really can't stand her, and they're arguing with each other, and she's saying that she's going to kill herself. But basically what ends up happening, this isn't ruining anything, is, you know, it deals with something happened to Jessica Biel's character, and then Patrick Wilson's character ends up like becoming kind of like the guy at the bookshop and looked at like he is a murderer. And then it's kind of like this whole weird thing that's going on, and you're kind of wondering, what had happened? Did Patrick, Wilson's character do this? And it's like a real mystery, and that's early on in the movie. Like I said, it's not ruining anything. It's like a mystery type film, and him with his relationship too with Haley Bennett's character. And it has on here some featurettes on here, as well as like a thing talking about the look of this movie because it was set in the '60s. But like I said, I really dug this movie. I don't know if everyone's gonna like this movie, but like I said, I was real like into this whole thing, and just kind of trying to figure out what it was gonna come to. It's a cool cover too with this kind of mirrored look on this. The next one here is a film that James Franco directed called In Dubious Battle. It's based on the book by John Steinbeck, and this is from E1 and then Monumentum Pictures through E1. And this is basically about James Franco's character and Nat Wolff. And I was kind of confused at first what they were doing, but they kind of want to go to this town. This is kind of during the time, during the Great Depression, where they don't really have money to pay anybody, and people are kind of working for like 3 times less than they should be making, and no one really has any money. And James Franco's character, along with Nat Wolff, kind of have this scheme of going to this town and trying to incite a strike and a riot. And then they're trying to they kind of infiltrate this company where they pick oranges and fruits and stuff like that, and try and talk to the people and figure out who's kind of in charge of this group, and kind of get them to try and strike, so then they can try and buy get this other land. And I was kind of confused exactly what they were doing, but they were trying to figure out how to make some money. This weird sort of scheme that they were doing, and they had other people kind of working with them as well, this whole like thing, and it kind of is about them working there, and Nat Wolff is kind of his like protege who's like kind of just started working with him, and he kind of starts to have a relationship with Selena Gomez's character in this movie. And like I said, James Franco directed this movie. I thought he did a good job. It's a very it's a real like I said, set in the 30s. I thought they did a good job of that, and has a really great cast in here. Ed Harris is in here, Vincent D'Onofrio is in this movie, Zach Braff, Robert Duvall, Bryan Cranston. So he really got tons and tons of people in this movie, but a really, really well-made film. Like I said, I don't know if they had ever made a movie about this John Steinbeck book before as well. I don't know. But it was definitely, I thought, like a different type of movie for James Franco. The next one here, from Mill Creek, and this is a movie, the second this came, I watched this again. Because this is one of those movies, I have watched this movie so many times. I think I first saw this on HBO. And, like, I always really loved Gary Shandling. And for some reason, like, there's very seldom do I get a movie and I'm like, if I've seen it a million times, I want to go and watch it right away. Like, I watched this one, like, right away, because I'm like, I just love this movie. It's a movie called What Planet Are You From? The director of this also directed The Birdcage, which I have to say is probably one of my all-time favorite movies, like another movie that I've watched so many times. And this movie has Gary Shandling, Annette Bening, Greg Kinnear, John Goodman, Ben Kingsley. This is set in it's basically about a group of these alien men, and they're basically like these sexless alien men, because like they're on this planet and they're like, genitals shriveled up into nothing, and they're like, they have no women on their planet and they don't know anything about anything, and they want to take over Earth. So they end up like making this robotic penis, and this is what it's about, and sending Gary Shandling's character to Earth, and they want him to impregnate an Earth woman. So Gary Shandling's character goes there, and like his penis like has a hum to it. So anytime he gets excited by anybody, he goes ooh, and starts humming. But he gets sent to Earth, like I said, to try and find somebody, and it's kind of his task. And he ends up meeting Annette Bening at this AA meeting, and they have this relationship. And but he ends up, when he gets taken to Earth, he ends up causing this big shaking and turbulence on the plane, and because of that, like the FFA and all that stuff, like the whatever you say that is, the airplane security groups and everything start investigating it, and that's John Goodman who starts investigating it, and it's just a hilarious movie. It's really, really, to me, like, absolutely hilarious. Like, it's just such a fun film. If you guys have not seen this movie, would highly recommend you guys check this one out. The next one here, I just finished watching these. This is from Troma, and I'm glad Troma is putting out Blu-rays again, because there was like a break when they hadn't put any Blu-rays or DVDs out for a while, so now they're starting to put them out again, because they put out BC Butcher recently, and this one is a double pack which has Feartown USA and The Slashing, and this is both two movies from the same director on here, and there's basically two slasher films. Feartown USA was about like these guys that were trying to go to a party, and it's basically like a guy who escapes from the insane asylum and is kind of going around killing them. And The Slashing, though, is about these girls who are throwing this party at their house, and like these weird neighbors that are like, well, we don't want you making a whole lot of noise there, and people start killing them off at the house, and it's kind of like a whodunit kind of thing. The thing that I kind of liked about these movies was they had like these funny jokes in them. Like they were making a joke about how like these movies always usually have like a nude scene and stuff. So like right when they were getting to the scenes where there'd be a nude scene, like in The Slashing, they like pull down the blinds, and I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny, like, and then they were like making jokes about this stuff, and they were making these jokes about this older guy talking to this girl, and she was writing all in those like rolling on the floor laughing, like ROFL and all that stuff, and he's like, what are you talking about? And there's just like some just funny ridiculous type jokes and stuff in this one. And it has on here, of course, that I always love the intros with Lloyd Kaufman entering the movies, and those things are always some of my favorite things in Troma releases. Like ever since I was a kid, like I always loved the intros. That was like the most fun thing to these, is just seeing what they do for them. And I'm glad too that they seem to be doing them for all the releases, because like I said, that's like the coolest thing, is the different intros that they put together for them. And the next one here from Brainstorm Media is a movie that stars James Franco, and this is from the same director as King Cobra, which is a movie that I really love. King Cobra, really love this movie as well. Really like the movies the director is making. He's making some really cool stories, and different stories too that you don't hear about too much. And this is basically about James Franco as someone who was, and this is all true, a true story, who was a gay advocate, who was gay himself, and had always been, he had done documentaries talking to kids who were gay in school, and kind of talking to them, talking to people who were religious and gay. And he had a magazine that he worked for, which was a gay magazine. Then he even started his own magazine It was very, very popular, but then all of a sudden, he kind of flips the switch and he like comes up with it. He can't be gay anymore. It's not right. He's not going to go to heaven. He can't get to heaven if he's gay. He basically has to leave his boyfriend, and he kind of goes and like looks into religions and Mormonism and what he's going to do and the idea of getting a girlfriend and all this stuff. It's just such a sad thing too for Zachary Quinto's character who plays his boyfriend in the movie. Like what he does to him, and he's constantly kind of bothering him like about things and calling him on the phone. And I don't want to say too much about this movie. Like I said, it's a true story though, so you can kind of look it up and figure out everything that has happened and like what he's up to now and stuff. But James Franco gave an amazing performance in this movie. Like I always really liked James Franco. I think this is probably one of his top performances. I think too, like he does like some really, really big mainstream movies here and there, so he can do smaller films like that. And that's what I really like about him, is he'll do like huge Hollywood movies, then he'll do like small, like intimate films like this. And this was so good. Zachary Quinto gave amazing performances as well, as Emma Roberts is also in this movie. But highly recommend you guys check this out, especially to check out the director's other movie, King Cobra. I know that one's on Netflix. The next one here from Vinegar Syndrome. This is one I had never seen before, and this is from the director who did Night of the Demons and Witchboard. I think pretty sure he directed Witchboard. I know he did Night of the Demons for sure, though, and this is a movie called Witch Trap. They even have a thing on the back that says this motion picture is not a sequel to Witchboard. So I don't know if back in the day, it kind of had like a controversy about it, or like people were confused and thought it somehow was connected to it. But the thing about this movie that I kind of liked was it's got some really odd delivery. Like the acting delivery in this movie is so weird. It's kind of like Troll 2 delivery, because it's like, oh, I know. And I, his father. It's like that same type of like odd talking, and it's like especially by these two sisters in it, that just the strange type of delivery, which kind of makes it amazing, because it's like, wait a minute, why are they delivering these lines this way? What are they doing? It's just like this odd delivery to it, which kind of makes it great. And that's basically though about this place. It's like a house that's been haunted, and they're trying to sell it, but then they can't, and they can't rent it out. They keep having all these problems, and the owner wants to turn it into like a bed and breakfast type place that's kind of considered a tourist destination, since it had haunted things happen in the past and stuff. And he ends up trying to bring in this team to try and see if he can kind of figure out exactly why people are dying to come there, and why this place is so haunted, and try and get to the bottom of it. And they basically just go into this place and try and figure it out, and like see what they can do. And it's like, of course, like things start happening to them while they're in there and stuff. These crazy deaths and stuff like that. This crazy old guy and stuff. I don't know. I really thought this was a fun movie. It's one too, like I said, I don't even know if this ever released on. I don't think it ever came to DVD in the past, and I don't know if it was ever really had like a big release. Because like I said, I never knew too much about this one. But it has on here a brand new 2K transfer on here. That's the thing. Vinegar Syndrome always does an outstanding job with their transfers, and also has this other artwork. I switched it to this is the other artwork that's on the front of it. But I really like this artwork on this. But it has on here tons of features on here. It has interviews with the director on here, audio interviews with the makeup artist, a video trailer on here, a short film from the director. But really, really cool. Like, I feel like seldom seen one. The next one here from Vinegar Syndrome as well is a movie called China Girl. And I think this is like a takeoff on the cover for Chinatown, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what this was kind of like a takeoff on. This is an adult film from them, and it has like a 2K transfer on this one. That's why I always said too, Vinegar Syndrome, I feel like Vinegar Syndrome really, I think when it comes to transfers, is probably one of the top ones of all time doing transfers. Like, especially for things that are like some of the movies too, you can't even believe that they can find the prints that they can, and they're as pristine and amazing looking as they are. This is basically, though, a weird movie kind of about, like, they want to try and get this formula, and it's kind of like the government wants to get this type of, like, I think it was like a certain type of a formula, and, like, because it kind of lets people, would tell them, like, their innermost secrets and, like, things that they want to try and get, and they kind of put this group into motion to try and find it, and they kind of use, like, sex as torture to try and, like, torture the people who know this formula that they're trying to get. And it's kind of like these weird scenes of them, and these weird torture type sex scenes and stuff like that. It's a crazy, ridiculous movie, but it's like, it's also like, if you know like older adult films and stuff, they're way more story oriented and they have more to, like, story to them and stuff, and that's what like this definitely is more of a story type film, and actually really well filmed and real shot and acted and everything like that. And it also has on here though an audio interview with the actress on this one, Annette Haven, and then the theatrical trailer on this one. And the next one's here from the company Umbrella Entertainment, are 2 Australian releases, and both of these are region free, and I cover the things up on there. There's nothing really bad on them, but sometimes people say stuff. But these are really cool, like, trailer compilation releases of, trailers from, like, the, drive-in type films. And the one is, Drive-In Delirium, 60s and 70s Savagery. These are trailers from the 60s and 70s, as well as Drive-In Delirium, Maximum 80s Overdrive. And I'm going to tell you some of the ones that are on these. Like, in the, this is the one, like, for the 70s release. They have, like I said, a whole bunch of different trailers on here. There's stuff in here like The Brain That Wouldn't Die, Eye of the Cat, Gorgo, there's, like, Barbarella, Deranged, Grizzly, Dogs, Rabid, Carrie, The Fury. Like I said, this is basically, like, a compilation of trailers, in HD for tons and tons of, drive-in type horror movies. Some of the ones that are on the 80s set here, and there's lots of, like, especially if you guys are a fan of, like, these kind of trailer sets, these are great. It has, like, Invasion USA, Friday the 13th films on here, Prom Night, Terror Train, To All a Good Night, Don't Answer the Phone, Halloween 2, Nightmare, The Burning, Pieces, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So, like, tons and tons of trailers on here. So definitely check these ones out. And these are region-free Blu-ray, so it doesn't, these are ones that you can watch anywhere in the world. Any Blu-ray player you have, their region A, B, and C. So you don't need any type of special player or anything like that for them. Anyway, though, guys, that's all for this update video. Like I said, too, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the titles I reviewed and talked about this video, and anything's coming up that you guys like to review for future videos. Thanks again for watching and subscribing, guys, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.